Right, Enzo Maresca's Chelsea side moved back up to 4th in the Premier League table. Nicholas Jackson gets himself back on the goal sheet, and Chelsea are now in a position, at least for an hour or two, until Newcastle inevitably probably pump Ipswich. Come on, Ipswich. We want the Tractor Boys to win this one. Until that happens, Chelsea are sitting pretty for the time being. And it's always very, very much been a case for me at this point in the season of results mattering. Results really, really do matter for me at this time of the season, and therefore you can go and put in a average performance, you can put in a great performance, you can put in a shit performance. I do not care. 3 points is all I want, and that is exactly what we got today. So let's speak about the game. Let's speak about the performance. I'm going to give my man on the match here, and we're going to talk about where we go from here. But people, before we get into all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, please do me a massive favour and hit the subscribe button. If you're not new around here, but you watch all of the videos anyway, which is about 60% of you, I believe, that aren't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's one click of a button for you, but it really, really helps me out. And if not, just please hit the like button on the video. Let's get into it. So, the team that we went with was almost as myself and Josh predicted. But one thing that we spoke about being a possibility, we didn't actually predict it happening, was Romeo Lavia coming back into the lineup. Now, Romeo Lavia and Caicedo, although it said that Caicedo was the right back, it was very much the right back inverting, and very differently to how when you see Cucurella invert, and I do say invert like that because he's not really inverting, he pushes right up, he plays as a 10 almost, Cucurella. When you see him do that, it's a lot more attacking. Now when Caicedo does it from right back, it's a lot more traditional, if you can call inverting the fullback as traditional anyway. But what happens is he ends up coming into that pivot with Romeo Lavia. He adds there for protection with the defence, and then Cucurella actually in this game stayed back and wasn't as attacking as he has been in games gone by. It was actually Enzo Fernandez that was probably furthest forward out of the lot of them. Now, around 25 minutes into the game, I believe it was, some great play, and it's the sort of direct play that Enzo Maresca had been able to get out of this Chelsea side early on in the season. Quick, instinctive, winning the ball, transitioning the ball, and creating an opportunity fast, not slowing the game down and not allowing the opposition team to get legs and men behind the ball before we make up our mind on what to do with it. Now that is a consequence of us being low on confidence. But now, today, we, at least for the time being, proved that wrong and went against that. What we did was we won the ball through Trevor Chalobah. He makes the tackle on the halfway line. He puts it straight onto Enzo Fernandez. Enzo sees Nicholas Jackson in space. Jackson takes it on the turn on the left foot perfectly to put onto his right foot, and he guides it home past Jordan Pickford. It was a great effort, and Jordan Pickford made a couple of great saves today, but this one he was not able to get to. It makes it 1-0 to Chelsea. And in the first half, I thought that Chelsea really dominated, if I'm completely honest. I thought we completely limited Everton to hardly any chances. I always knew that Everton would rock up at Stamford Bridge today and park the bus, play as many men as they could behind the ball, and obviously play for a point, ideally 3, but a point at least. And I feel that that's what they did. I feel like even once they went behind, they didn't all of a sudden change their tactics. They still played fairly unambitious, and maybe they were looking for that goal on the counter-attack to be able to get a point to put them in a drawing position. And we all know that Everton love a draw recently. And speaking of that, before I continue on with the game, I want to let you guys know that whether or not you thought that it was inspiring stuff from Chelsea Football Club today. Whether or not you looked at us and you thought, now this is the Chelsea from the start of the season, or whether or not you now look at us and think this is the Chelsea that can finish in a Champions League spot, let me tell you one thing and one thing only, and that is that Everton are no mugs, my friend. Not under David Moyes. The resurgence has been real, and I think they went 9 games unbeaten, didn't they, when he first came in. Now, yeah, Liverpool beat them by the same scoreline that we did today, but I don't think Liverpool did it as comfortably. I don't think they did. Arsenal drew with this Everton side, and Nottingham Forest lost to this Everton side. All teams above us in the table. So believe me, this Everton side are very much capable. And I'm not going to say it's a coup for us to beat Everton at Stamford Bridge, but it's something that I would say a couple of months ago, definitely, and a couple of weeks ago, certainly, we probably wouldn't have done today. And we did so without putting in a stellar performance of fluent, lovely, free-flowing attacking football, but putting in a solid performance nonetheless. And one man that I want to focus on, firstly, is Romeo Lavia. I think that he was very much a big part of that, a big part of why we were able to put in that sort of performance today. I think that Romeo Lavia's presence in the team is something that we're going to have a headache with. And it's almost a nice headache in a way, but at the same time, from pulling on my heartstrings and from a loyalty aspect, it's a bit more than just a headache, right? It's a headache that maybe I thought at one point I might have to have with Malo Gusto under Pochettino, which was that Malo Gusto was playing such good football that I sort of thought, well, when Reece is back fit and available, is it really fair? Does it really send out the right message to just replace Malo Gusto in the team with Reece James? Now, this season, Malo Gusto hasn't been to the same sort of level, and that's because they've been trying to get him to invert. It's not something he's comfortable with. He's better in the old sort of 5 at the back system, which is really 3 at the back. 2 bombing on, fullbacks bombing on. He's better in that, delivering crosses into the box, as do I think Reece James is. But I think out of the two of Malo Gusto and Reece James, when it comes to inverting, Reece James is a little bit better at doing that. However, when we signed Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo and Romeo Lavia, many people thought that that was one signing too far because you cannot get those 3 on the field together. But in the form of Caicedo inverting, by the way, a role that I pointed out time in, time out that he had done for Brighton on many occasions. He had done it on many occasions for Brighton, but it was probably just before the season where he really announced himself as a central defensive midfielder, not inverting so much, so maybe it went under the radar. But Caicedo's always been able to do that if he is given the quality around him to be able to do it, right? So then it becomes a question of this. But just quickly, before we get into all that, I need to ask you lot a question. Have you been feeling tired recently? Do you feel like you're suffering with your sleep or even from a lack of focus? Because if you are, that could be a sign of low testosterone. But have no fear, because 1 in 4 men in the UK actually suffer from low testosterone. And 90% of blokes remain undiagnosed with this problem. But you can join over 30,000 men taking their first step to treating low testosterone using manual and their diagnostic test kit. And the thing is, we can actually vouch for this. Josh was always saying that he was feeling tired and hard to get motivation and whatnot, and he did the test himself. And the results that he got from the at-home testing kit were exactly as we thought. Both his testosterone and free testosterone were suboptimal. So as per usual, he knows what he's talking about. Now, interestingly, when you hit 35, your testosterone levels can drop to up to 1 to 2% per year. But there is evidence saying that your testosterone levels can drop from age 25 onwards, which seems to be what happened with our old friend Josh. So we were incredibly interested with these results. And if you would like to check your testosterone levels, all you have to do is hit the link in the description to this video. That will allow you to be able to grab your own at-home testing kit. And 86% of patients that did so saw an improvement in their energy levels within just 3 months. And that's using Manual's TRT service. So this can really help you feel way more like yourself. So don't just put up with the symptoms. Use my code JOEY45 and you will get 45% off your free at-home testing kit. Just hit the link in the description to grab yours. Let's get back into the video. Do we have Romeo Lavia in the team, or do we have Reece James? It's no coincidence today that when Reece James was subbed on, he was subbed off for Romeo Lavia. Yes, you can say, oh, that's because Romeo Lavia hasn't played much football. Neither's Reece James. You're managing the minutes between the two. But I do think it's that simple, because I do think that there is no way that this Chelsea team can be anywhere near as competitive as it even is at its worst, let alone its best, if you take Caicedo out of the team. That's undoable. Enzo Fernandez, for the most part of this season, pretty much the majority and all of this season, has been brilliant. I've really, really rated him. I've really thought that he's come on leaps and bounds in comparison to last season. So then you look at things and you say, how important is Reece and how important is Romeo Lavia? And here's what I would say. On today's game, I thought that we dropped off a little bit once Romeo Lavia came off the field. That's not to say that I think Reece James played badly, but I think we dropped off a little bit. I think we're a better team with Romeo Lavia in the side. I think that Romeo Lavia is a lot more direct and a lot more quick to do so in releasing the ball once he either wins it or receives it in those deeper areas. Normally it will be him winning it and he'll release it straight away. And I think that makes us more direct. And I think what that helps us do is get back to the Chelsea of the start of the season when, bomb, we'd win the ball and we were on the counter-attack. Because there was a few times where, I get it, we're 1-0 up, we're controlling the game and the 3 points is what matters and the players understand that. So ball retention, controlling the ball and making sure that you don't lose out and force silly mistakes, right, is very, very important. So I do see both sides of the coin. But there were certain times when we won the ball, when Everton were committing players forward, when we could have countered on them and we could have gone 2 goals up. And the match could have been won before that final whistle went. And we could have relieved ourselves to have that margin, to have that 2-goal lead. And once Romeo Lavia came off the pitch, I don't think we were as quick in those transitions. There were a few times when I'm looking at Pedro Neto, and Pedro Neto's frustrated because the men aren't running quick enough with him when he's trying to break on teams, yeah? Madueke, obviously he came off, Jadon Sancho came on. Now, there were opportunities in the second half for us. I think that on another day, it might have been 3-0 Chelsea. Because Madueke actually had 2 shots off the right foot, by the way, that I thought Jordan Pickford did really well to get down to. So Madueke had a good game in there. Romeo Lavia had a good game in there. I thought that was one of Enzo Fernandez's better games, but he's been having good games recently, consistently. And when we speak of consistency, we can only ever look at Moises Caicedo. Week in, week out, this boy is the bollocks. He's such a good signing for us. No one's ever going to look back and talk about the fee with Moises Caicedo. And very rarely, if ever, do you sign a player for over £100 million and that happens. Very, very rarely. I mean, if you look back on the years of football and you sort of accumulate how money, has gone up, inflation and whatnot. There are guys that were signed for 40 mil once upon a time, 35 mil, like Rio Ferdinand from Leeds to Man United, and that would be the equivalent to signing someone for like 100 mil now. And we look back on it and we don't complain about it. No one looks back on Van Dijk signing and goes, 90 odd million, way too much for him. Caicedo is going to join that club, and it's a rare club to join. Declan Rice is in there. Caicedo is going to join that club. It's a rare club to join, to be a player that comes in for that much money and no one has any question marks over. Now, Nicholas Jackson gets back on the goal sheet today. Was it his finest match? I don't think it was. I think he's played games where he's played better than that. But the most important thing to me is 3 points. And the most important thing to me is Nicholas Jackson getting on the goal sheet. And he took his goal beautifully. Really, really well done. Pedro Neto, from an attacking perspective today, I don't think was unreal. But I think what he offers you in terms of the groundwork to get about, and especially when you've got Moises Caicedo inverting from that right back row. I know Trevor Chalobah steps across and covers a lot of that ground, but I do think you need some legs there to help out, a la Victor Moses, in a way. Do you know what I mean? And I think Pedro Neto done that job very, very well today. And before I tell you about the man of the match, I just want to touch on a few players here. I think Trevor Chalobah had a really good game today. I think it's going to be such a shame if we see Trevor Chalobah moved on in the summer. You know my feelings on it. You boys know how much I love Trevor Chalobah, and I think he's a great player. And I think that, if you deem, and no shade thrown here, but if you deem Tosin Adarabioyo good enough for Chelsea Football Club, if you deem a lot of players, that we've got. Disasi's going to be coming back probably. If you deem a lot of players we've got good enough for Chelsea Football Club, I don't know how you don't deem Trevor Chalobah good enough for Chelsea Football Club. So often, I walk away from Stamford Bridge and there are players that I can't say have their head held high. And so often I can always go, well, Trev can walk away from that with his head held high. I think he is a class act, really is. Colwell, hot and cold for him today, but a clean sheet, so can you really complain? And that brings me on to my man of the match for today. And my man of the match is Robert Sanchez. I thought that was the best match I've seen him have in a Chelsea shirt. I didn't really see him give away the ball once. I didn't have my heart in my mouth every time that the ball went to him. There were times when I called for the ball to be played back to Robert Sanchez. But not only that, I think there were 3 or 4 match-defining saves he made. 3 or 4 saves he made that without us scoring another goal, we would have been coming away with 1 point today rather than 3. And we wouldn't have been moving up, at least maybe temporarily, in the league. But definitely, we're moving up in the league, because even if Newcastle go and win, we're still going to go 5th. And that still means we've moved up in the league, because obviously Aston Villa and Forest are both playing in the Cups. So my man of the match would be Robert Sanchez. I thought that aerially he was very, very good. Made the right decisions, came for balls in the right way, wasn't rushing out, trying to punch balls that were nowhere near him. He was taking them down, holding shots well, not spilling them straight in front of him when he does make a save. And he made 2 or 3 saves that were match-defining from me. So all in all, I'm coming away from this one a very, very happy Chelsea fan. Really, really am. And now I look at things, and do you know what, right? Someone said about not wanting to give Liverpool the guard of honour. I hope we do. I hope we do have to give Liverpool the guard of honour, because I don't want that match against us to dictate whether or not they win the league on that day or not. I want a Liverpool that have already won the league, my friend. That is what I want. I want a Liverpool that have already won the league and had it sewn up. So yeah, there you go. That's what I want. I don't know whether that's done or not. I should have even checked before. But what I'm saying is, probably, and it's mad to say this when he's fit and available, but probably now, I think that you go with a very similar lineup against Liverpool. And you work Romeo Lavia and Caicedo into that team together. Have Enzo Fernandez in there. And you go with that same lineup against Liverpool, because I think that works well. And I think winning that midfield battle is key for us. I think Pedro Neto chipping in a bit more defensively, responsibility against Liverpool. And I think that maybe we get something out of that game, I know it sounds unambitious, but if you said to me now, before the game, 4 points from the 2 matches, do you want that? Do you want that? Do you want to win against Everton and a draw against Liverpool? I'd have gone, yeah, I'll have that. But who knows? Maybe we can beat them. And maybe we can make it the first time since Todd Bowley and Blue Co's ownership that we have beaten the likes of a Liverpool, a Man City, or an Arsenal in the league. Who knows? But I'm definitely feeling more positive, as should you lot be. And by the way, you should definitely be smashing that like button. You probably want me to speak about it. Cole Palmer, quiet one again from him today. I think that Cole Palmer, he's not looking forward to the season ending by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that a rest for Cole Palmer could be good. I think it could be. But do you know what it is? I know that we did because there was a Jackson goal. But when neither Cole Palmer or Nicholas Jackson play great, despite the fact Jackson scored, and you win a game against a team that have been notoriously hard to beat of recent, especially for top teams even as well. I get Man City did do them, but Arsenal struggled against them, Nottingham Forest struggled against them, Liverpool struggled against them, yeah? Despite beating them. To do that, when Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson aren't having stellar performances, is something I'm really impressed with. So I am a very, very happy man today, as should you lot be. Subscribe to Joey and Josh, by the way. We've got another true crime banger dropping from that channel. I'll link them in the description. I will see you all in the next one. But I forgot, you lot, tell me who's your man of the match. Comment section below. Smash the like button. I'll see you all in the next one. Love you all very much. In a bit.